Hi, my beautiful musical people. Welcome back to our little discussion, or our big discussion on the difference between different genres of music. This is part 2 of the difference between jazz and R&B. Now, in the previous video, if you go back and look at that, excuse me, we gave definitions of, or we looked at definitions of both what we call jazz music and what we define as R&B, also known as rhythm and blues music. So, also in the last video, after defining both, we spent time looking at examples of jazz music and talking about those key things that define jazz that you want to listen for. And once again, if I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. The fact that a song is slow has nothing to do with it being jazz. So, tempo or fast and slow is not what makes a jazz song. Because, why? Of course, we have lots and lots of fast jazz songs out there. So, making a song slow does not make it jazz. Remember that. Okay, so please do listen to that and watch that previous video, part 1. Actually, that was the first part of discussing jazz and R&B as a comparison. There's a video before that that introduces this whole notion. Anyway, okay, so now this is part 2 now of that same discussion of comparing jazz with rhythm and blues music. Only this time now we're going to focus on the rhythm and blues part, and I've got a couple of examples for you. So, before I share the examples, I just want to reiterate part of the definition of what we call rhythm and blues or R&B music. So, as you recall from the previous video, it was originally got its name as a part of marketing and all of that. Please do look at that video, as I said, to get more of the history of that in terms of what used to be called, quote, race music, end quote. So the part of the definition that I want to reiterate or repeat to you again is the part that deals with the musical aspects as opposed to the historical aspects of R&B. The meaning behind the name, the rhythm part of rhythm and blues, comes from the music's typical dependence, yes, I'm reading it, typical dependence upon 4-beat measures or bars, and employs a backbeat, meaning that beats 2 and 4 are accented on each measure. So, I've got a couple of examples for you. One's a slow song example, one's a fast song example. All right, now, when you hear the very first chord, very first notes of the song, you'll recognize it right away. Of course you recognize it, right? Okay, so this is the classic Luther Vandross, A House Is Not a Home. His version of this song became very famous, of course. Now, getting back to that definition that we just talked about. R&B, once again, it relies heavily on your standard 4-beat measure or bar. So what does that mean? Sorry, I went back. So that means if you listen, it's you can easily count 4 per section. So the 4 beats are, one second, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that 4-beat count repeats over and over again throughout the entire song. So if you're not used to reading music or you're not familiar with what we mean by bars or measures, that's what we mean, is that the structure of the song is based on those 4 count measures. So every time you get to 4, you start over with the next set of 4. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then start over 1, 2, 3, 4, and you repeat. So that's the structure. Of course, this is considered an R&B song, and it's considered, it is a ballad, so it's a slower R&B song, rhythm and blues song, and it has that 4, again, that 4 count beat. A fast example of another rhythm and blues song, another famous artist. Again, focuses, it has the structure where it's based on that 4/4 count, and it also has, sorry, my phone keeps ringing, and it also has that backbeat part that the definition talked about. So we're going to look at that one next, the fast R&B.